So this video is specifically for Peugeot 504 and the 505 users. So in the last video chat, in fact it was the first episode of video chat that was done on Telegram, TLC group. So we talked about various alternator models of Peugeot cars. We also mentioned this 505 and 504 alternator. So but this particular video is only for the 504, even though I've talked about it in that video chat, but I want to do it for just to elaborate for these users of this model to understand exactly what I mean. Now, if you have a 504 and 505, and let's assume it doesn't have AC on the vehicle, the vehicle doesn't have AC, and you want to install AC, I will highly recommend you first confirm the alternator capacity on the engine. I'm referring to SM7 and SN engines. When I mean SN engine, I'm referring to SN1, SN1A. In other words, SN7 and SN1 are the 1.8 and 2.0 carburetor engine in either 504 or 505. So if you have even we also have AC engine in 504. But I think I personally wouldn't recommend mounting AC on that XC engine, which is 1.6. So I wouldn't recommend you put AC on that, because the engine is not that highly, the power is not that much, so it's going to struggle with AC. So for the SM7, that's 1.8, 2.0 liters. If you want to install AC on the car, first find out the capacity of the alternator. Most of these 504, especially the 504, they originally had like 35 and 40 amps alternator. So they may not be able to power or to work with the AC if you intend to install AC on the vehicle. So what I would recommend is there are 505s and the late 504s that had 50 amps alternator. So I would recommend, if yours is less than 50 amps, you look for those ones, at least minimum of 50 amps to be able to power. You may not understand this thing until you do the installation. Most times, especially at night, you switch on the headlights, or maybe if there's rainfall, you put on your wiper, and at that time you need AC. You now put on AC only for the car to just switch off, in the middle of in the rain, or so even if there's no rain, but because the headlight, the AC both are on, after like 20 or 30 minutes drive or thereabout, the car will just go off, and you try to crank it, the battery is dead, there won't be anything. So I highly recommend you upgrade the alternator to increase the capacity to at least minimum of 50 amps, whether 504 or 505. For this is for 2.0 and 1.8 carburetor engine in 504 and 505. Likewise, if you want to install electric fan, well, I can't say for sure if you'll be able to, the 35 or 40 amps alternator will be able to power electric fan and the AC at the same time. When I mean fan, I'm referring to the engine cooling fan mounted behind the radiator. Of course, when you want to install electric fan, the best place for 504 and 505 will be behind the radiator, not in front. So you can put in front, but definitely won't really work well, because the one that is supposed to be there is the one for the condenser, AC condenser. So which is usually small. So you need something bigger at the back of the radiator. So in that case, you may also have to consider maybe 50 amps. Maybe the 40 might be able to power, unless maybe there's no AC on the car. It's possible that 40 amps alternator may be able to carry that electric fan. If you do the conversion to electric fan, you'll be able to carry it. See, there's a reason why I'm suggesting all these things, because once you start adding load, electrical loads to the alternator, if the alternator capacity is not up to match, you start having problem with your battery, because the what's it called, relay, because you need relay to be able to run that fan. When you are converting to electric fan, you need to, sometimes it may take up to 2 relays. For example, mine has 2 electric fan, one in front of the radiator, in front of the condenser for the AC, which also sometimes can also cool the radiator, but not as much as the main electric fan behind the radiator, that is in between the radiator and the engine. So in my case, I think I'm running about 3 relays, either 2, I think 3 relays for both fans. So you can imagine the kind of power it needs to be able to sustain the power the relays need to run the fan at whatever speed you want. So the lower capacity alternator will not help you in this case. So there you can look for at least minimum of 50 amps alternator for this kind of conversion or upgrade on your 504 or 505. You just get the 50, unless maybe for now you don't intend to do another. If okay, or maybe put the other way, let's assume your alternator fails, the current one fails, and maybe it's 35 or 40. Don't get that at 5 or 40 anymore. Look for 50. At least they are available. Like I said, there are some that actually had it, mostly 505 and then the late 504. So you are not going to do any kind of construction for it to match. It's basically the same design, everything. Just that it has higher capacity. So look for at least 50, so that in future, if it needs to do the conversion, install AC, or convert to electric fan, you have to bother yourself again about the alternator. Otherwise, you have to start looking for alternator that has a higher capacity than the 40 amps. You can buy new one, at least, but the one I put on my SN1A was new one. And funny enough, the new ones, they are not actually that expensive if you can find them. The way people think, the difference between second hand and the new alternators is not that much. If you find new one, better. If you cannot, well, look for a good used one. There are some alternators that can actually match that we are not actually used on 504 and 505, all those SN or 1.8 or 2.0 carburetor engines. But you can convert them and they work. All you need is meet a good alternator technician, people that specialize in this kind of thing. They can convert a different brand of alternator or alternator used on a different vehicle. They can convert it and make it work as is one with higher capacity. If you can't find that 50 amps, the normal 505 alternator, you can get another brand, as long as it fit in there and the pulley aligns with the other pulleys like the water pump and the rest. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Now for the 504 with injection engines, or the ones you've converted, for example, people that want to convert carburetor engines in their 504 or 505 to EFI, electric fuel injection, of course, you have to upgrade beyond even 50 amps alternator. You just have to, you have to upgrade minimum of at least 70 amps alternator. There are 505 alternator that had 70 amps, like the ones like the 505 V6, 505 GTI, all those ones. The minimum is like 70 amps. So you need between up to 70 to 100, 100 or thereabout, you'll be able to run it. Of course, you may not get 100, 90 at least. Yeah, so you need all those things. If you can't find one from 505, find your technician can be able to get one that he can convert and it will match, as long as he has minimum of 70 amps. Personally, I'll go for up to 90 amps if you can. Like I said, don't focus so much on the one they move from 505, because fuel injection system runs with a lot of relays, and even the ECU, all those things, they require a lot of power uh, from the alternator. So some of those sensors that the engine works with, your ignition coil, that runs those cylinders. Depending on the type of the conversion you did, whether it's independent coils on each cylinder, or you are still using the same single ignition coil for the carburetor. So you need alternator that will be able to handle all those demand that will be coming from those electronics or electrical components from the alternator. So at least this will help the 504 and 505 users in case in future you want to do any kind of upgrades or electronic installations or introduction and on the vehicle. Okay, so hope this video helps. That's all.